My name is Shane Ivan Nash. Stay tuned and hit that like and subscribe button.
And you remember Penelope
Tate.
Tate. Apparently
or-
that means something.
Yeah.
Apparently, y'all, it means the area between your anus and your...
Well, Penelope, I think in Latin or is penis. And then it was penis taint is Penelope taint.
That's it, taint.
And then on top of it, they had amandaplease.com.
I remember.
AmanToPlease.com.
I didn't realize that.
AmanToPlease.com.
That was
Even
a very
iCarly,
popular little site, though.
Did you hear about iCarly had 2 contests? And this is, again, another Dan Schneider show, where they sent photos of children's feet. Like, you would email a photo of your feet, draw a smiley face on your toe. Where did all those photos go?
Yeah.
Again, like, what is going on? So when Dan did that interview with the former cast member, the one that he just did, that was like the whole, everybody was involved. Okay, then let's get everybody at the table that was involved and hold them accountable. That's what I see. Like, I
agree with
why
that.
he's trying to sit here and say like, oh, well, this guy wrote off on it and this guy wrote off on it and everything's good.
And I believe him on that.
Name the people so we can hold them accountable too.
I believe the Nickelodeon execs had a lot to do with it. I that's the one thing I may believe Dan Schneider on. I truly, truly believe that.
Yeah.
But Melissa Joan Hart is so interesting. She's conservative and it's so disappointing. Melissa Joan Hart used to be Clarissa from Clarissa Explains It All and Sabrina from Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Yeah.
But she was doing Meghan McCain's podcast, and she talked about her experience at Nickelodeon. Her show ended a year before all that premiered. I think it was from like 91 to 94 or 93, something like that. And, originally, a lot of the Nickelodeon shows shot in Florida, Orlando, before they moved out here to California. And, she just kind of talked about how she believes the victims and everything. She didn't experience that because it was slightly different. She believes it was different from the Orlando actors versus like the LA Hollywood ones.
Yeah.
And it was just really interesting listening to her experience because they also, the black guy from Just Jordan, his show was really dope. I used to watch it all the time or whatever.
Say what he said on
Twitter? It was
Twitter?
really dope. But he was just like, nothing happened on his show. And back to Melissa
he said
Jones.
He's not getting his ass cheeks clapped.
Oh,
for a
yeah,
show
that's
or
what he
something.
said.
Like, he said some wild shit. I was like,
we got to button that. And I was just like, but the same thing that him and Melissa was saying was not all shows had bad apples on there or whatnot.
Yeah.
But I don't think Dan Schneider produced all those shows either.
No.
So I don't he didn't touch Melissa. He didn't touch Clarissa Explains It All. And I don't think he was doing Just Jordan. You can tell the Dan Schneider universe. They all look alike. Like the iCarly and the Victorians.
Remember Hey Dude? Remember
other.
that? Like, I think there was an era for Nickelodeon when they were first coming up that they followed the rules a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think what ended up happening, Nickelodeon became a conglomerate because of Dan.
Yeah.
Because he was the golden boy. So that's when that no accountability came in. Lots of money started. Because when Nickelodeon first started, like, they didn't have the money that they had.
Nope.
I mean, when Hey Dude was being produced, that was...
And that's
production.
an original, yeah.
It's an original, but you can look at that. They definitely saved some money on the production costs.
Because they filmed in a ranch outside of Tucson, Arizona. I was reading about this last night. It's funny that you bring up Hey Dude.
Yeah.
Because Clarissa's show, Melissa Joan Hart's show, was actually one of the first original shows after Hey Dude was canceled.
Yeah.
So, your girl loves Salute Your Shorts and all of the shows back then or whatnot.
Remember, I think it's called Alex Mack. I think the show.
The Secret World of Alex Mack.
Yes, how she melted.
That
was my show.
Marissa Olenek is so wonderful. She's such a great actress. I love that show.
That was like
Kim Field's younger sister was on that show.
Yeah.
I loved Alex Mack. I got a book. Alex Mack, from the book fair when I was a kid. And so, it's just really shocking. And, Disney, you're next. Disney Channel.
Oh, my God.
I'm waiting on Annalisa Vanderpool and Christy Romano.
To confirm some of the
Carson
things
Romano
that
to
Mr. Orlando Brown is saying.
Ooh.
Orlando Brown is like...
That man ain't lying. He has a substance abuse problem, but I don't think he's lying. I don't think he's lying.
I think he also speaks in metaphors because he's afraid to say it fully. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because there's a lot of power in Hollywood. I mean, people can lose their livelihoods.
Yeah, they
I
talked
mean,
about that too.
you can be blacklisted. I mean, that was the
Mhm,
whole Brian Peck situation. It was one of the leverages that they used on Drake was like, "Oh, well, you'll never work again." And then you got a kid who is now providing for his entire family.
mhm.
He is the linchpin for making sure everybody eats, and you've got someone essaying him.
Yeah.
Like, the
Oh,
advantages, especially I mean, all the way to Shirley Temple, and this goes back to, like, what, 1920, 30, whenever she was popped into Hollywood. There's
yeah.
always been this, like, uncomfortable exploitation, I think, of children because we wanna tell the stories, and children add
Oh,
to
it's so
movies and
triggering.
stories. Because if you think of the movie, I See Dead People or whatever, that little boy, that scene made that movie,
Yeah.
like, when you think of that. But at the same time, like, what is the price of these kids' lives? Like, they it's almost like they gave up their childhood so we had one, but then now looking back, now that I know they went through it, almost destroys my childhood too.
Yeah.
Like, I can't look at any of my favorite shows now that I used to watch.
Right.
I'm like, "Okay, let's just move on to something else," because I even if there isn't trauma on the episode, I almost feel
The
like I can
Sixth
see
Sense.
it. Like, I can see this something in the episode itself where it feels off, and I mean, even things like Ren and Stimpy, some of the cartoon
Oh,
stuff that we were
that was too much. That
oh
show
my
was one of the
god.
only shows rated TVY7. That show was too much.
I mean, but I grew up on Ren and Stimpy too,
Yeah,
and I grew up in
same.
a generation where, like, I'm like, again, that elder millennial where the not maybe not so much for you, but I was very much still kind of like a latchkey kid is what they call, where, like, you
Mhm.
you got a key to the house, you go up, and your parents are just letting you run feral through the
Yeah,
streets kind
no.
of. So
Much later
yeah, no, I
for
mean,
me.
like, street lights were on, I had to be home, kinda like I grew up a little bit more old school, I think, than some millennials did
Yeah.
too, because I had older folks, like older parents and older brothers and stuff, so they
Mhm.
had that pattern. Like, with Nickelodeon and the whole thing with slime.
Yeah.
So,
It's like,
TikTokers have dug into it and are asking questions. Why is it green?
boogers.
If you know video production, if you know video
I don't know why I said
you know the
boogers.
No, but for video production,
Mhm.
a green screen. So you've
Oh.
got slime getting on all these children. You can
Uh-huh.
easily change the color to white.
Oh my god.
Mhm. I've done my
Oh.
research because I went through
I did
what it
not
is,
know that.
eh, all the problematic things that are going on, and then the logo's a foot. The logo's a foot for what was it, like 10 years? They had a
Yeah.
foot as a logo, like,
Yeah.
the idea that somehow the folks up at top were not involved, it's like, how do we hold those folks accountable? Because, again, they are very powerful in
Yeah.
Hollywood.
I'm not even about accountability. I'm about consequence these days. Like,
Yeah.
what's the consequence for all of this? And how do we protect child stars? Like, a lot of the black people that were on the All That set or whatever, like, black moms, black dads were complaining. All of a sudden, kids were fired, especially black moms.
Yeah, that was sad.
I even read with Angelique Bates or whatever, her mom was sexually harassed by one of the producers. And I was like, that's insane. That is freaking insane. And like you said earlier, because people are afraid of being blackballed, one. Number two, these were their first jobs,
Yeah,
their first breakout role on television.
yeah,
So you're going to do everything that you can to keep that, including being complicit to the abuse you've been experiencing.
and that's how
And that's
abuse
why I
happens.
felt so sorry for all of these child stars from Nickelodeon. And it makes me wonder about people like Victoria Justice
Shia
and
LaBeouf.
Miranda Cosgrove and, Josh Peck, all of these people who I haven't heard too much about, especially Victoria
But again, that
Justice.
Jeanette McCurdy book
Oh,
basically
Jeanette
stated
McCurdy. How can we
that
forget her?
allegedly those 2 producers pulled her in and said, "Hey, don't talk about Nickelodeon. We'll give you 300K."
Yeah. And
Now,
she
I
said,
don't
nope.
know if those other folks did that, And I don't know if I can even really sit here and say I would judge because I don't know the life they were living in that
Right.
moment, to be honest. And if they are the breadwinners for their family, maybe there was a reason they made that decision. Because again, we don't know what struggles that they were going through that they had to take that money. Because we
Yeah.
have to again be aware of this like dynamic. Because even what you and I are doing having this conversation could possibly blackball us from people in Hollywood because it's dangerous to even have these kind of
Yeah.
conversations. But it's the truth, and
Yeah.
these conversations are out.
But I think Jeanette McCurdy was so brave because, one, her mother was abusing her,
Yeah.
which was really horrible. And I used to see like videos of them together or whatnot. And so, to her, the best thing in her life happened when her mom passed away. And that's so unfortunate to hear. But then on top of that, I commend Jeanette because, she stood up to the big people and was like, no, I'm not going to take this $300,000. I'm going to share my story. And she came out with a best-selling book about that.
Yeah.
So, it it just really makes me wonder about some of these other child Nickelodeon stars. Victoria Justice, I bring her up a lot because about 3 years ago, I was in a very depressive state, and one of her songs, "Treat Myself," really helped save me. It was much more about treating herself much more with kindness because, with Victoria Justice, there was this whole thing with her and Ariana Grande. The
Yeah.
same with Jeanette McCurdy and Ariana.
Which
You
was
know what I
done by
mean?
the producers.
Done by the
That's the most
producers, yeah.
Machiavellian of it all. It's like the
Yeah.
strings are being pulled by these girls fighting each other. They don't even know why they're fighting each other.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's like, we don't even know what happened to Ariana Grande. You saw that potato video?
Yeah. And like her, like with the foot thing,
To the point
it's
where,
just crazy.
listen, I know she's a little problematic with her whole relationship situation that she's got
Yeah.
going on, but I gave her a drop more of empathy after seeing that potato video because I don't know what that girl has been through in terms of exploitation. She's lost Mac Miller. She's lost a lot.
Yeah.
She's been through a lot. She was able to make herself
Ooh.
a really big career because of it. I think even, what was it? She was at a funeral 2, 3 years ago and she was getting felt up by one of the pastors on stage. Like she's been through a lot.
Yeah.
So again, I know problematic with the homewrecker thing. Nobody wants to, I know it's a little, but I can almost see how she arrives at those types of
Allegedly.
paths.
Alleged homewrecker.
Allegedly. But I can see how she arrives at those paths because of
Yeah.
what she's been through. Because again, a lot of trauma can make you navigate the world differently.
Yeah.